Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. Joel chapter 3 verses 19 through 21 open Jonas Clark's memorial sermon for the events of April 19, 1775. Given 1 year after the Battle of Lexington and Concord, this sermon was subtitled To Commemorate the Murder, Bloodshed, and the Commencement of Hostilities between Great Britain and America in that town by a brigade of troops of George III under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Smith on the 19th of April, 1775. Jonas Clark was the town minister of Lexington, the site of the first violent encounter between a colonial militia and a British garrison posted in the colonies. As learned in the 19th century text Chaplains and Clergy of the American Revolution, Clark had been involved in the events of April 19, 1775. He had been sheltering the political activists Samuel Adams and John Hancock in his home. These two men, together with the local supply of gunpowder and arms, had been the primary objective for Colonel Smith and his troops. The so-called shot heard round the world caused the British troops to fire into the gathered body of militia, thereby sparking the American War for Independence. Later, after the action had ended, Clark oversaw the burial of the dead in Lexington. His daughter Elizabeth's recollection of her father on that day can be found in the book Paul Revere's Ride by David Hackett Fisher. Ministers of American New England were often adherents to millennial eschatology. As Nathan Hatch argues in his essay, The Origins of Civil Millennialism in America, the spontaneous defense of liberty in America encouraged them to interpret existing American society as the model upon which the millennial kingdom would be based. Inspired by the complex of ideas here called civil millennialism, New England ministers of the Revolutionary era resisted tyranny in God's name, hailed liberty as a virtue of the new American Israel, and proclaimed that in sharing these values with all mankind, America would become the principal seat of Christ's earthly rule. Ministers could be found to be deeply supportive of the revolution, both in a supporting role as a conventional chaplain, but also in a much more direct role. Virginia Lutheran minister Peter Muhlenberg, at the conclusion of a sermon in January of 1776, accepted a commission in the Virginia militia and spent the remainder of the war in the Continental Army. Muhlenberg was not content to remain in the background, but had been in the forefront of the assaults on Yorktown. Other ministers served in a similar capacity throughout the war. Religious overtones and American religion condoned the colonial war effort, giving it a legitimacy and a national identity. A common adherence to millennial theology encouraged a view of current events that was indeed favorable to the armed defense of liberty, and ministers could even be found in the ranks of the soldiers that defended the colonies from Great Britain. Now, the question could be asked as to what percentage of American clergy, or even church-going laity, actually supported the war effort. Even if this demographic is heavily divided or contested, the historical accounts of the era are clear that Christian faith was nonetheless used to rally the troops to defend their homes from the British invaders.